So sometimes I receive papers to review and I find like say a fundamental flaw in the paper, right? That's really something wrong. And then you can decide whether just to comment on this point saying there is this flaw and I'm sorry, reject, or still say there is this issue and then blah blah blah. Also do the rest of the peer review. So once you've decided the paper has a flaw and what's your attitude towards that? Still do the whole peer review of the paper or just comment this and see you later?
Well, I think the editor's going to appreciate, and the authors too are going to appreciate, like if that's the case, if there really is like a fundamental flaw with a paper that means that it shouldn't be published in the peer-reviewed literature, then my advice would be to just flag that back to the editor initially, like over email, and then ask the editor what they want you to do. I mean, if that you can write back to the editor and say, I think there's a fundamental problem with this paper. What do you think my next move should be? Should I continue to complete the review, or let's just leave it at that? And I think that 9 times out of 10, the editor will want to know as soon as possible if there is like a fundamental issue with the article, so that they can pass that information on potentially to the other colleagues who've also been asked to look at the paper, and then time is saved in the whole process.
Yeah.
Would be my advice.
Yeah. Another issue I have as peer reviewer, sometimes I feel a bit embarrassed because it doesn't happen often, but sometimes you feel like there is some fraud. Like honestly, some data manufacturing, numbers not fitting together, or too fast analysis. I mean, and then normally I write this to the editor, but you feel a little bit not confident in telling the authors, I think you cheated. But sometimes that's the case, and manufacturer data is a real thing that happens. So how you deal with these embarrassing situations?
Well, I mean, it's the editor's job to deal with those situations, not the reviewer's job necessarily. And often you want, this is another reason why lots of reviewers want to protect their identities in the review process from authors. I mean, it might be a small research field. You might even know the people involved. And I mean, so again, like this is information to pass back to the editor, which the editor can then deal with. And we deal with these kinds of cases often, relatively often. And these are ethical issues that need to be taken further often by the publishing company, like data manipulation, data falsification. Like that's at the far end of the spectrum of unethical behavior in academic publishing. So if we could demonstrate that has happened in a paper, then those authors would probably be blacklisted from not just our journal, but from all of the journals that a particular publishing company
Yeah.
is in control of. And this is something to bear in mind if you're thinking, I'm sure you're not, of course, but if you ever think about doing something to cut corners in academic publishing, think again, because very often people get caught. That one of the most common is what we call simultaneous submissions, where authors will send the same paper to 2 or 3 different journals at the same time, and then see which one gets accepted first, and then withdraw the others. This happens all the time, and it almost always gets caught, because often the peer review pool within a subject area is small enough that you're going to hit one of the same reviewers. Reviewers write to us all the time and they say, I've just seen this paper in an, submitted to, the American Journal of Cardiology or something like that. It's like, and then red flags are raised, and the production office will want to go further. So
Yep.
talk to the
So
editor.